Hey guys, thanks for joining me for my second video in my Black Society series. Now before I get started, first I want to share with you guys my thesis statement. And every point I make in this video and the coming videos will be supports for this thesis statement. Whew. Sorry, am I boring you already? My thesis is, in order for us to fix the problems in the Black community, we must first relinquish our dependency on those who are oppressing us. How many times have you heard someone, and by someone I typically mean a person of color, say something along the lines of, the system is failing us? I've heard this so many times throughout my life and I'm only 20, like, that's so sad. But guess what? The system isn't failing us, not even a little bit. It's doing exactly what it was built to do from day one. I mean, do you really think a system that was built on the genocide of one group of people and the enslavement of another really cares about those at the bottom that they're stepping on? Think about it. The goals of this system are to keep us dependent, unintelligent, and profitable. Hold on. I'm gonna say that again. I want you to remember these words.
Dependent, unintelligent, and profitable.
This system, the government, the land of the free, the American dream, all this stuff, these are things that we're supposed to believe in. We work for it, we shed blood for it, we fight for it, we work ourselves to death for it, and in return we're promised safety, financial security, economic prosperity, religious freedom, all of that stuff. So
what they at though? What they at though? What they at though?
There's tons of examples I could share with you to support the idea, or fact rather, that this system was not built to protect us, but quite frankly, I only need two. The first being the cycle of poverty. This subject matter could go in a number of different directions, but for now, I'm just gonna share with you why I believe they're doing nothing to fix it. I was watching an episode of Family Guy the other day, and it was the one where Lois's dad and his company find the cure to cancer. And there was one scene in particular that really stuck out to me.
Carter, you've discovered the holy grail of modern medicine. Why the hell would you keep it buried like this? I'll tell you why. Because there's far more money to be made in treating a disease than in curing it. Why cure someone of cancer in a day if we can treat them for a lifetime and bill them every step along the way? What? That's insane!
Did you guys hear that? Why cure someone in a day when we can treat them for a lifetime and bill them every step of the way? Translation.
Why fix a problem although we know we have the ability to do so when we can just give them small handouts making them a little bit better than they were before but never fully allowing them to reach their goal?
Oh yeah, and charge them for it. Cold world, no Snuggie. Please tell me you guys know where I'm going with this. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to elaborate anyway. If you apply this scheme to issues revolving around poverty in the Black community, or poverty in general, you basically get the exact definition of the poverty welfare cycle. I'm not saying that government assistance hasn't helped a lot of families. The point that I'm making is you can't rely on the government or government assistance to get you out of poverty and help you become financially independent, because their goal is to keep you right in the midst of it. I mean, why would they help you, and I mean really help you, when not helping you is helping them? My second example to support the fact that this system has no intent on helping us is probably the most socially and currently relevant, and that is the murder of Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin and Oscar Grant and Victor Steen, Eric Garner. The murders of these young Black men, women, and children is one thing, and a bad enough thing at that, but the fact that these killers, these white law-enforced killers, are walking free, having hundreds of thousands of supporters, and on paid leaves, or vacation as I would call it, is just first-hand proof that the life of an African American in America is worthless. So you know what, let me correct my earlier statement. This is a system that we're working for, fighting for, shedding blood for, spending money on, and working ourselves to death for. Are you still with me? So what is my proposed solution? Well, what was my thesis statement? We must relinquish our dependency on those who are oppressing us. Just like a person in an abusive relationship or a drug addict or an alcoholic, you feel like you need it, and of course it's hard to let it go, but you know you're healthier without it. It's time for us to let it go. It's been time for us to let it go. So we need to no longer call on the police for help. We need to no longer call on the government for assistance. We need to no longer rely on the school system to educate our children. We need to stop spending money at businesses that do not help our community, or even businesses that won't hire us based off our skin color. And I know that sounds a little far-fetched, right? No. Stop it. It's called self-sufficiency. And what makes me so confident that this can be done? Well, because it has been. Too many black people are unaware of the events that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in the 1920s. So you know what? I'm gonna give you a brief history lesson, real quick. Just hang in there with me, alright? So if you're unaware, the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma was by far the wealthiest black community in the United States back in the 1920s, and they often referred to it as Black Wall Street or Little Africa. And this area was exceedingly financially successful due to Jim Crow laws. And of course, I'm not saying Jim Crow laws are good by any means. I'm saying because of them, blacks were spending money at other black-owned businesses, thus keeping the money inside of their own community. I mean, they had doctors, they had lawyers, they had bankers, they had newspaper writers, they had a super outstanding school system, and just about every other thing a community would need to be successful. And not only was this community doing well for people of color during that time, they were even enjoying luxuries that some of the white communities didn't even have. They were self-sufficient and they were financially independent from their oppressors. So what happened to Black Wall Street? Many will say that race riots broke out due to the accusation of a black man attempting to assault a white woman in an elevator. And if you believe that that's the reasoning for the horrific events that took place here, then you also must believe that Emmett Till was brutally murdered because he whistled at a white woman. But you know what I think? These weren't even race riots. I mean, when you use the term race riot, that almost implies that both parties are somewhat equally participating in violence. This, however, was a blatant attack fueled by pure envy and fear. This was an unlawful and ruthless invasion upon a community that posed no violent threat to those on the outside, and an ill-prepared response of self-defense. That's not equal violence. This was a terrorist attack done by Americans against Americans on American soil. And I know that that might make some of you American patriots a little uneasy, me using the T word. Well, they even dropped bombs on this community. Approximately 300 black Americans were murdered. Over 200 black businesses were destroyed. Several thousands were arrested and detained, and even more were left homeless. And all of this because of an alleged attempted assault? That doesn't add up, and that's definitely not justice. This happened because nothing scares the American government more than a high number of intelligent, independent, self-sufficient blacks. Their power and their socioeconomic statuses were being threatened. So just imagine if we could recreate this. The only thing that seemed to be missing within this community was a strong police force or even a militia. This was by far the most important history lesson I have ever learned, and I didn't learn it at school. I didn't learn it from a history book. I was never tested on this. And I mean, that doesn't shock me. Information like this can be dangerous. No one is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them. So to sum it all up, stop complaining that the system isn't doing anything for us or doesn't care, and then turning around and throwing your money at it and asking it for help. Stop running to the government and depending on political figures and the law to get justice when historically they're the ones who put us in this situation in the first place. Laws protect those who write and defend them. So in a country where the government, the lawmakers, the lawyers, and pretty much the justice system as a whole is nearly 90% white, is it even a little bit shocking that our legal system repeatedly fails to serve the interests of people of color? It's more than just finding someone to represent us. So if you really think having Obama in office means that we're winning, we need to learn to help ourselves and those alike. We need to stop being dependent, unintelligent, and profitable. Stay tuned for the next video.